So I was actually exploring this with a UFC guy who's a really big name in the UFC. And he was like, what do I do for, like, if I were to build a community, what would I do? And so I said, I would basically have it from like the championship mindset of like how I approach things as a champion. And then add in them doing breakdowns of real games or real fights of other people or their own games and be like, hey, pause. This is what I was thinking about here. This is why I moved this way on the court.
Question from iPhone 5. I have a partnership opportunity with an athlete who has about 170,000 followers on IG and Facebook. I wanted to niche down to target amateur athletes, but she said a lot of up-and-coming athletes don't have the disposable income to pay a high monthly subscription. Would you niche down and target the amateur athletes, or go wide and target people looking for fitness and inspiration through sports?
Tough market. There was a guy a while back, Jacob Hillier, I think his name was, who had a jump thing on YouTube. And he had like a $67 ebook, and from that $67 ebook, he was doing like 4 million a year. And that's all he did. And so I think that if you're trying to do so athletes pay for training. That's fairly common in even like, high school level. Like there's plenty of kids who pay $300, $500 a month for pitching coaches and jumping coaches and hockey coaches, because the parents are looking at that expense. They, one, have status associated with their kid being good, confidence, skills, whatever, but also there's a decent likelihood that they can get a full ride to university or college by being good enough and getting a scholarship. And so they see this as kind of like an investment towards getting the kid good enough to go and play and get their college tuition for free. So I'm not entirely sold on the fact that they don't have money, but the question is just, is the services that you're going to be offering remotely what they're willing to pay for? If it's not, I think that there's probably a third category of people who are interested in this type of sport that would be willing to pay. And so I was actually exploring this with a UFC guy who's a really big name in the UFC. And he was like, what do I do for, like, if I were to build a community, what would I do? And so I said, if it had been up to me, I would basically have it from like the championship mindset of like how I approach things as a champion, and then add in things like you do it, or like them doing breakdowns of real games or real fights of other people or their own games and be like, hey, pause. This is what I was thinking about here. This is why I moved this way on the court, or this is why. And so it gives insight into how to play the game better. And the thing is there's this massive, massive amount of recreational players. Like the amount of adult leagues that, I mean, at least in the US, have just boomed for like softball, basketball, football. Like there's a huge market for people who still want to get better just because they don't want to look lame in front of their friends and just kind of be cooler. And so I think that might be a third market that is probably undertapped that I would be looking at if I were talking to this particular person.
This clip was taken inside of the SkoolGames, which is literally free to join. So if you want to talk to AlexHormozi live every week, then click the link in the description and join right now.
54.1% of people who start a paid community in school make money. Yes, you heard that right.